This is the final episode, the 4th episode, in the mini-series I'm posting on YouTube called Midsummer Inventory of Pawpaw, the Pawpaw project that I started back in 2021 here along the Huron River in Michigan. And the only reason you're going to be watching this episode is if you are so into doing a pawpaw project yourself, and ideally somebody after I'm gone, dead and gone, will actually be going out and monitoring and probably tending the patch that I've created along the bottomland here. Again, the main thing I'm trying to do here is planting the pawpaw. Also, just for itself, it deserves to be in the bottomland here. This is furthest north, really, that it comes in the wild, our native pawpaw species. But also because my intent is to create a project such that it can be an experiment for understanding whether the pawpaw itself, as a woody subcanopy tree, can rise up and over. It has the capability to grow to 35 feet. Up and over the very dense AMUR honeysuckle from Eastern Asia that is also a woody subcanopy, but only goes up to about 20 feet. So it's non-native and it shades out all our spring ephemerals in a way that pawpaw does not. Pawpaw leaves come out late in the spring and then they drop off well before the AMUR honeysuckle leaves drop off in the fall. So there's time for plants to be able to live beneath pawpaw, but they can't live beneath a mature AMUR honeysuckle patch, which you've already seen in the previous 2 videos if you've been watching. One more thing, right standing exactly where I was, and there's my stick. Take a look at how the Lonicera are starting to lose their leaves, and the leaves just stay green and they fall. But as you look around, in fact, this is a beautiful spot to see it. You can see the height that they grow and how they are dominant in the subcanopy here. And again, my whole process for this minimalist approach to ecological restoration is to ultimately have the pawpaw that spreads by underground stems heading up, and it can grow taller than the Lonicera, so ultimately it can shade it out. Lonicera needs a lot of sun to stay alive. So again, this is the final one, and if you're watching this, maybe a handful of people are going to get this far. But I'm going to talk at the end about how I see the deer, the pawpaw, the AMUR honeysuckle, and the privet, all of them interacting in a way that can continue into the future without much human intervention or discouragement once we get a little bit of tending help by us going down there and helping the pawpaw. So let's get started with this final video. And again, we always start with a map. The first patch in the bottomland that we'll be exploring will be the old river patch, which you don't even see on the map, but which I'm putting in right now. And this is the diamond shape. The white star marks the spiral tree, which was featured at the beginning of the 3rd video in this set. Important on this map, you may be curious about what SS1 and SS2 signify. Those are the 2 sit spots that I utilize along the river. Great places to sit when I just need a rest and to admire the wildlife out on the river. And during the midsummer, when there's a lot of mosquitoes, if there's a breeze, there's far fewer mosquitoes there while I'm taking a rest or eating a lunch there. So after we go to the old river patch, we'll next go to patch 7, then to patch 6. And then we'll retrace our steps to where we can take a look into section 8, just a little look. The purple trail on the map is section 8. And that's where the midsummer inventory will end. Okay, I just came from the patch 1, 1.5, and old end trail there coming on the trail. There's a big walnut here. Here's patch 3A. These are the young ones, germinated seeds I planted last year. Glad to see there's some sun getting in. And we're going to take a look at the old river patch, which is toward the river here. Right in the center you can see I have my stick with the orange flag on it. It runs from there a little further back and then over into here. So I'm going to walk it right now with my camera so that it can be easy to find. Now all of these sticks here are added. This is what I added this spring when I wanted to create more in this patch. So I added, I think it was 16 germinated seeds. And I dragged in all these branches in order to make it so that the deer aren't going to be exploring here. There's really nothing much to eat in this area. I figure I can cut back some of the branches of Lonicera if these really do come up, and therefore give them some more light. And then coming over here, the trail goes in, and I had planted the earliest plantings. I'll go to the earliest plantings here. This is by my stick here. You can see there's a deer trail that's become a Connie trail too, or vice versa. And unfortunately, right here, this one was glorious already this spring, and then it got topped off very early, but it's putting new leaves out for photosynthesis, so it will be able to go back up, but you can see it's a very tall stem in there. So last year, again, this was planted in 2023. It was so gorgeous, I put in 3 germinated seeds around it here, and my stick is pointing to the first one that I've seen, and boy, that's a beauty. So this is a new helper in here. One more from that 2023 planting is marked by a rock here. And this has been topped a number of times, but it hasn't been topped yet this year. So there we have a look at it. But you can see, I mean, this is 2026, so, you know, planting in 2023 would have meant it came up 2024, 2020, so this is its 3rd summer showing above ground. And this one was also gorgeous this spring back here. This was what would this have been, a 2024 planting? Yeah, 2024 planting. And this had a nice tall stem, but it got eaten back. But it put out leaves from down below, so it can gather photosynthesis, and then maybe it'll also go up. So now I'm going to show where the trail goes off to patches 6 and 7. Again, this is heading back towards 3 is over there. And here's the trail that goes back to sit spot 1 at the river. The way I see where everything, you can see this cluster of things right here. It's easy to see where the branching of trails branches off to the old river area, and then branches off right here to go to patches 6 and 7. So I'll get my stick and then we'll walk out there. Part way down the path to patches 6 and 7. 6 is going to be over there. There's a large tree in the center. That's what's left of a large standing dead ash that I had planted there. I called that 6 because I planted that first. And then I came back to here, and let's see if you can see the orange flag there. Yeah. So let's continue down here, and it's pretty easy to see where to come off the trail here. As you see that log coming up, and you see this that you have to duck under here. You look through here, you see this pair of logs, and it's pretty obvious where you walk here. So I'm going to start off with looking at the one that's a survivor from back in 2023. I've got my stick marking it there because it's really hard to see. Another way to notice it is, see, there's a, back in the day when I was planting so few, I always put a rock by them. But to the left of the rock, here it is. And I ended up planting last year 18 germinated seeds in here. And gosh, some of them are quite large now. This one here is obviously the largest. There's a smaller one over there. Ooh, and a couple real tiny ones. You see the color of the leaves, easy to see. And another one there. So again, that would have been 18 germinated seeds. And there had been a glorious one. I'll put in a photo of what it looked like, and it got stepped on by something and moved over. But there's one more thing here. In addition to the 18 germinated seeds I put in here, I put in 2 window box. One I can't see right now, but the other one, this is really exciting. It was actually a pair of seedlings that were so close together in the window box that I planted them together, and I was so proud of them. This is what they look like now. Oh my gosh, glory, glory, hallelujah. And they do get, you see there's some sun over here, they do get a lot of sun. I thought planting in between the logs might keep them from being stepped on, but I'll patch in now a photograph of how beautiful they looked when I planted them last summer. And then what happened late, I think it was early fall. So they'd had plenty of time to get good sugars in their roots, and so that's why they came back. But gosh, the photo of both of the stems being way eaten down was very sad to me. So I'm very excited to see how well they're doing now. Okay, but you can see how dark everything is over there. Again, AMUR honeysuckle is what does it. So now let's continue to patch 6. So this is by patch 6. This is the marker tree here. It's a dead ash tree, and I didn't know whether it was dead or dying when I planted here, but there was an open area of sun, and I'll show in a moment. But first, this branch on the left, this huge branch of it, fell off last winter. And look at the mushrooms on it now. This is also interesting where it fell, right across my patch where I had 2 patches here at patch 6. 64 germinated seeds were planted pretty much where this fell, and 20 germinated seeds were planted pretty much where I'm standing. But what I really care about is these were the 5 window box pawpaws that I left, I grow them in buttermilk containers, cartons, and just planted all 5 together. And fortunately, the 2 tallest ones you can see here, both are continuing their growth on upward. Beneath them, I looked, and there are 3 smaller ones, so all 5 are still alive, and one of the smaller ones is growing atop, still going upward. The other 2 got bit back really far. So this is what really counts. I mean, whether there's actually any young ones in here, I don't know. But I also did plant, my gosh, look at the size. Look at the size of those right there. I did plant, I think, 10 seeds back in there somewhere, but there were also, you can see all the downed matter here. There were some honeybees or wasps or something back there that drove me out, and I will not be walking back there. But one more thing to show here is what was exciting for me was that I discovered with this branch fall, it opened things up for me to see. And all the way through, back through here, I walked over to patch 3C and decided to plant 200 seeds, I think some were germinated, that I planted as a corridor early this spring between patch 6 here and patch 3C back there. And along the way, down on the other side of the log here, I planted, I don't know, maybe 25 seeds down in there in patches. So there'll be stuff coming up. But anyway, this is quite an area. You can see how rich this soil is, given the thickness of when things open up, how much will grow here. In contrast, look back at the AMUR honeysuckle zone in there, that maybe a few low things can grow, but nothing tall back there. Still July 20th, 2026, and I'm just going to finish off with section 8. Here back the creek, across the creek, and then come back to the trail that quickly goes to the upland, but also veers off to section 8 here. So as we walk along, again, right by these nettles here, those are the pawpaws. I might as well go in. Pawpaws down below. The portal group. Here is the trail to the upland. And then right opposite here, you can see a trail, and this was kind of established before I started planting, but really established now, and this goes to section 8. Got my walking stick so I won't fall. I'm just going to keep this recording as I, oh yeah, big one here, as I keep walking back. Here you can see the terrain we're going into. Got a log across here. Good place to admire the shade of the AMUR honeysuckle. Look how far apart they can be, and yet they curve so much in there, curve so much in different directions that they can create shade entirely in here. All right, so continuing around past this one, and there's old bottles in here, and this one I specifically kept here, and I'll show with my walking stick. This, and in 3 or 4 places I've found the barbed wire. And so I have it in the bottle there. I don't have wire cutters on these, so I use the bottle there to make sure that no person or animal gets on it, since that's just a little clip of what's left. Okay, then continuing here, I'm going to stop filming here because I have to bend really low, but out beyond there we're going to get to section 8A. Alright, so there's where I just crawled under, came down here, and this log signifies right here where 8A, not much of a trail, but it kind of goes up on the slope. 8A will be in there. That's the first planting. Blue Angels this weekend in performance. Big plane. Anyway, I'll continue here. Before I go to A, I'm actually going to go over to C, because C is by the big walnut and the ephemeral pond, and I just have to come back here to do A, B, and then all of the rest. It's just C that's an outlier. So I'm going to go there now. I don't really keep this trail up much, but it's through here, and then when I get, oh gosh, that must be it there. Yeah, see that big tree through there? That's the big walnut, and that's right by the edge of the ephemeral pool. And patch C planting is just beyond. Now I gotta take a look at this. This is definitely an ash. Oh my gosh. Is it a still alive lingering ash, or is it dead? I'll have to take a look. All right, I'm sitting on a log, and I'm gonna go up here. I know that the ash leaflets can be opposite, or are opposite, but it's the actual twigs of the branches to see if they're opposite or alternate, because ash is opposite. See, there you see the leaflets clearly opposite, but that doesn't matter. It's the branches. Are they opposite or alternate? Can I even tell? Is there some place to tell that on this lowest branch? Because otherwise, you have to go way up. So here's another place where I'm braced against the tree and looking at its lowermost branches. Yeah, some over there. But as I go up, there they are. Here's another one about 20 feet away, which also is very healthy up there, looking up. Way up there. Because that's for sure part of it right there. Alternate or opposite leaves. Not leaflets. Leaflets are opposite, but hickory and walnut can also be that way. Gosh. Is there any way to tell? I won't know until I download this and see if I can see any examples here. Here's the walnut from the other side, and here's the ephemeral pond. Just absolutely no water in it at all. But here, golly, here's another tree that looks like bark of an ash, and I will go up and go a little bit over here and see what can be seen. I just don't know. All right, so here's the other side of the ephemeral pond. It heads up, and then even farther we'll get to the last 8 planting 8H over there, and then all the other ones, it's a trail that circles back, circles around, and heads back to where 8A is. And I just took a little bit of a look through here to see if I could see any of the plantings from last year, and I could not. I'll put a text overlay of how many I planted and when I planted, but I'm not even going to look till next fall. There was nothing back here, nothing planted back here until late last summer. I'm standing at 8A, patch A of section 8, and tent seeds were planted in 2024, and last year I saw this one, and thankfully it's here again this year, and you can see where it is. And this is where I buried pawpaw seeds in the fall, and then also some over there for winter stratification. But this one's in good shape. And again, the log goes over on this side of the tree, and this one is in perfect shape right there. So 2024 would have been its first summer, so this is its 3rd summer. And last year there were 2 more that were over in this section, but late fall I saw them both gone. I'll wander over there, but I'm not going to film unless they're left. So there were 4 last year, I think just 2 this year, and you can see that ultimately it's way too shady up there with the AMUR honeysuckle. So the trail continues. 8B was over there planted. Here's the trail, 2024 over there. And then, or 2025, germinated seeds there, and then 2026 I added some seeds over there, but not even going to try to look. So I'll wander the trail, but I probably won't be taking any video unless I actually see some coming up, because again, everything from here on out, it was planted as germinated seeds 1 year ago, 2025. All right. So I was just viewing a pawpaw on this side of the tree and over on this side from 2024 plantings, and golly, could hardly believe it. And I have stones here that I marked. I can't believe it. These have actually come back. I couldn't even find them. They were just so totally top back. I'm very impressed. Okay, let me go a little closer on this one here. Yeah, and then moving up to the next stone, which is here, and you can see the log. Moving up to the next stone here, there is yet another one. And again, this is their 3rd summer. Let's take a look at that stem. Oh yeah, you can see it cut off way down there. Oh, little pawpaws. This may be the last that I'll be filming here in section 8. Glory, glory. May the forest be with you all. So that's the close of this 4-part midsummer inventory of pawpaw, Rewilding Pawpaw in Southern Michigan series. I'm Connie Barlow, and you've probably picked up along the way there that I have a very optimistic view about, with just a little bit of human intervention right at the beginning, bringing in the big pawpaw seeds and planting them in good locations and tending them, and with that should be enough for them to eventually be able to overtop the privet and overtop the AMUR honeysuckle. And in that case, we will be into a complementary way of having newcomers and the pawpaw interact with one another. I hope someone will be down there and checking it out and tending and continuing this project. And so for you in particular, may the forest be with you.